Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous, and here is her story. Dear Ollie, your channel has been so helpful. Thank you. I would like to remain anonymous for reasons I will explain later. Hearing other stories about narc abuse and seeing your honest, spot-on reactions helps validate that it's okay to feel the way I do about my mom. Like all of us on this channel, we have many stories about the narcs in our lives. This story was the moment my suspicions of mom's weird and crazy behaviors were confirmed as not normal and evil. It was my what the fuck moment when the narc haze she had placed around me started to lift and I could see who and what she really was. This letter is just about my mom. I haven't been able to place my father yet. I suspect he was a coward who sacrificed my brother and I in order to make mom happy. He always did what she wanted and seemed fearful of upsetting her for some reason. Maybe she would cut him off if he didn't go along. I don't know the answer to that one yet, and maybe never will as he died in 2001. Mom triangulated everyone in the family, so I never directly confronted my father about anything. Everything was done through her. One of the biggest regrets I have is I will never be able to confront my father about this shit. I have confronted my mom, but that's a different story. It was hard to put my finger on the abuse. I think my mom is the most covert narc on the planet. She never physically hurt me or yelled or did anything overtly to my brother and I that would make her look bad or could be called out. She's a gaslighting artist. So much so, it took moving to another country at 33 years old to step back and realize the shit she pulled was so hurtful and damaging. I'm now 47 and have come to terms that mom never loved me. I have accepted she is evil and dangerous and will never change because she enjoys what she does too much. So 47-year-old, raised by a baby boomer, another baby boomer mother. This is how they raised us. This is how they raised us. And we all have that what the fuck moment when we're away, when we realize what the baby boomers are. It's that when you cut them off and you get away from them, it's the what the fuck moment. I had always thought something was just not right about mom. She would frequently say she loved me and wanted lots of hugs. I remember cringing at her touch and feeling bad about it later. And when she hurt my feelings, if I have the courage to tell her she hurt my feelings, she always said she was sorry in that sing-song baby voice. You know I would never hurt you on purpose, and I love you and would never intentionally hurt you. We would move on. Case closed. It was so confusing. She would embarrass my brother and I all the time, expressing over-the-top emotions to normal things. For instance, this is histrionic again. Over-the-top emotions to everything. Over-the-top responses, over-the-top emotions, over-the-top actions. That's histrionic. Over-the-top. For instance, if she saw a beautiful anything, garden, house, sunset, etc., her expression of how much she loved these things was just crazy. My brother and I started calling them gasms. House-gasm, garden-gasm, food-gasm, Jesus-gasm. She is super religious, whatever. And she seemed to take it to a higher level when she had a bigger audience, like when friends of hers, especially when our friends were visiting. The attention had to be on her at all times. Her histrionic there it is. Histrionic. Again, for those of you, we're seeing a lot more as I'm talking more about histrionic, these histrionic stories. It's over the top reactions to everything. That's the histrionic. Her histrionic behavior was always about positive things, and when my brother and I would ask her to please stop, she would pout and cry and say she couldn't help that she was so happy. And what's wrong with being happy? The happy narcissist. The happy, they use they use happiness. So you're the soil sport, you're the stick in the mud, you're the problem, because I'm all about I just want to be happy, and you just want to ruin my happiness. They don't care that their happiness infringes on your boundaries, do they? She would I hated going out to dinner with my family, which luckily happened infrequently. Mom always made a fuss over the food and either sent it back because it was not to her liking, too cold, not cooked right, too whatever. Or she would order something but wanted it served in a special way, not the way it came. My brother, father, and I would just sit there and wait out the storm, saying nothing. I also could never order what I wanted because it was always too expensive, and learned to guess what I thought could be an approved dish to order. Oh, that was another one with my mother. You couldn't just order what you wanted. It had to be approved. A life theme bestowed upon me by her was that I was always too wasteful and expensive. I used too much soap when cleaning, either for myself or cleaning products, too much shampoo, water, toilet paper, paper towels, too much of anything. I heard the same shit. Paper towels were a huge, and I've talked about it, paper towels, the shampoo. You use too much of anything to the narcissist. It's just a means of controlling your every action. This is how these baby boomers raised us. If we ran out of anything in the house, it was always my fault because I was a wasteful person. Apparently, it would cause mom to spend too much money replacing things I had wasted. Jesus, this could have been written by me. And I always wanted too much in her eyes. Even from the age of 12, I had a paper route, and by the age of 14, was buying my own clothes with the paper route money because mom would only shop at Kmart for my brother and I. Not that anything is wrong with that, especially if a family does not have the money to buy clothing elsewhere. But mother could get her clothing from a nice place, and my father was a medical technologist in a hospital at the time, making enough money that buying clothes for his kids should not be a worry. That is another weird thing. Mom always talked about how tight money was, and I was worried about that because I was so wasteful and felt bad. That's how I grew up. See, the difference is you were able to keep your paper route money. Mine was every cent I ever made was taken from me. Everything I ever got from my birthday money, my Christmas money, took it all from me. And then accused me of wanting, of why we never have money. Everything's your fault. Everything's your fault. This is the fucking baby boomer. This is what it's like growing up with a baby boomer mother. This is what they do to you. They had money for themselves, though. Didn't they? Didn't they? And if you're 47, this is in the 80s. This is in the 80s, man. They had money then. Housing was cheaper then. It ain't what it is now. She seemed to have enough money to get the things she wanted. New diamond rings, clothes, a new family car of her choosing. Dad drove the old truck to work. Mom drove the family car, and the family car was the nice car. The big what the fuck moment was when I was 32 years old. The web she had so tightly wove started unraveling. She complained I wasn't spending enough time with her. I was going to see a friend that lived far away, that lived far away the next day, and told Mom I was taking the bus to the airport, a 2-hour drive, but she wanted to ride with me in my car. We could drive to the airport together. She could take the car back. That way we would have 2 hours to visit, and she would help me get to the airport. This is what I'm talking about, Gen X. We can't do anything without our mommy and daddy in tow. Do you see what the kind of box they put us in here? I really thought she would not accept this suggestion, as I knew she would not want to drive my car by herself back home, and a 2 hours drive would be too much for her. I was wrong. And I'm telling you, you should have just taken the bus. Stop involving your mommy and everything. We all do it. We all do it. My father had died 2 years ago from that time, and she was dating a guy that had been a long-time family acquaintance. He was married at the time, but getting a divorce because of Mom. She had her sights set on him, and Mother gets what she wants. So here you are, you want to spend time at 33 in 2003 with your mother, who 2 years outside of her marriage to your father, who was completely emasculated and had his nuts stepped on, is breaking up someone else's marriage. No wonder you had your what the fuck moment once you were away from this fucking chaos. God, they're disgusting. He is divorced and now married to mom. Anyway, she accepted going to the airport with me, bringing her boyfriend along for the ride because he could drive her back home, even though he was very tired from working the night before. On the way there, I brought up the subject of them getting a prenup if they decided to marry. I knew things were getting serious, and mom made me promise in the past that I would bring up the whole prenup thing if she ever got serious with someone new after dad passed. Her boyfriend had more money, more property, and more to lose if they got married and decided to divorce later. So I thought it was safe, subject to broach. I was wrong again. Her boyfriend went mental, started yelling at me and calling me a selfish bitch, and I only care about mom's money. And that is why I brought up the subject. I wanted her money. When I calmly responded that mom asked me to do this, well, it didn't matter. The yelling and name calling continued. I'd have fucking jammed on the brakes and been like, get the fuck out. Get out. I'll put my car in long-term parking. You're better off just parking your car long-term. That's the baby boomer for you. They think they can disrespect it. He said he felt sorry for my boyfriend at the time because I was such a selfish bitch. I stopped talking to him and looked at my mother in the passenger seat. I asked her why she was letting him speak to me this way. She curled up in an almost fetal position and whimpered like in a childlike voice, I don't know. Get out of my car. I finally shot back and told him he was an asshole and I was just trying to protect him and mom's future. But obviously she doesn't need protecting, so I didn't talk about it anymore, and I'm sorry I brought it up. I had fucking parked my car long term, taken the keys, and been like, take the bus back, fucko. You fuck bag. Take the bus back. He was fuming and kept saying I was out of the will and what a horrible bitch of a daughter I was, and I was just after the money, etc. Which is funny to me because my parents had always told my brother and I that once we left the house, we were on our own forever and never expect a dime from them. Of course, that's what the baby boomer does. It's all for them. Suck it all up for themselves. That's the narcissistic baby boomer. That's what they do. Oh, they're just disgusting. They're just disgusting. Which I believe to this day, my laughter made him angrier, but I could not help myself. The thought of being taken out of the pretend will was funny. I let him fume and drove to the airport in silence. I should have pulled over and told them both to get out of the car, but I was in a different place back then, still thinking my mother cared about me and she was just weak or too childlike to be a normal mom. When I arrived at my friend's place, we had a few drinks and tried to analyze what the fuck just happened. My friend has a PhD in psychology and she threw out maybe mom was a borderline, a term I had never heard and had no understanding of. My friend did her best to explain, but I could not accept my mom was that kind of person at the time. The next morning, mom called me crying. She told me she broke things off with her boyfriend. My response, as always, was supportive, and I told her not to break things off, something I knew she would want to hear, and that she's manipulating you. And that I knew how much she loved him and to give him another chance. Oh my God, this is how the baby boomer gets their way. This is the way, the guilt trips of the baby boomer. The fucking guilt trip. And here you are at 33 thinking you need your mommy to go visit your friend. You should have just parked your car in the long-term lot. Or taken the bus. She kept crying and saying how she had said some bad things and maybe they shouldn't be together. Oh, how he had said some bad things and maybe they shouldn't be together. She also said she thought he was after her money. I reminded her he had more money than she did, so that was silly. And I know he was not after the money. You don't know. You don't really know what his financial situation is like, especially after divorcing his wife for your mother. Stop believing their stories, man. She continued to cry and say she had to break up with him and does not know if they could get back together. I started to feel for the first time in my life my mother was standing up for me. I was molested as a child, she knew, and did nothing to help me then. But that is a different story. Not really. Not really. It all falls into line. It all falls into line about the narcissistic baby boomer. It's all about them. The fact was, I felt for a few seconds my mother was choosing my side of things. For once, she wasn't. She was setting you up for an ultimate guilt trip gaslight. So then, after giving her comfort, support, and sympathy, I said, "Well, Mom, he did cross some lines and said some pretty bad things." She cut me off from saying anything more and quickly responded, gleefully sing-song the phrase, "April Fools." That day was April 1st. I was in shock. Oh, I hate this generation of people. I really do. Didn't know how to respond and felt like I had just been punched. I told her I had to get off the phone, hung up, and knew she had set me up. I was sure her boyfriend was listening in. They both wanted to know if I was after their money, which was ludicrous. What an evil, manipulative cunt. That was the moment I knew my mom hated me and would do anything for her own again, and would do anything for her own gain. It was then I started to slowly accept she never loved me. I started thinking back to all the BS stuff I could never put my finger on and didn't feel right concerning Mom's behavior. There are more stories that, when I look back, were just shitty. Never helping me when I was molested, making me feel like it was my fault, or when I was becoming a woman, the snide remarks she would make about how I looked that would cause me to take off my makeup, put on baggy clothes, and hide my femininity. There could only be one princess in the house, and it wasn't me. She was always lovely and huggy and full of I love yous, but when she wanted to hug me, it would make me cringe. Ugh, I remember that. My mother's touch would make my skin crawl. I never knew why and felt bad for years that I had a difficult time giving her affection, but now I know better. That April Fool's moment was the end of her and the beginning for me trying to discover who I was and what I wanted in life, because having been raised by her, I never knew what I wanted. The focus was always on what she wanted and needed. Mom has never apologized for the April Fool's incident. She made her boyfriend apologize for being mean to me, but acts like she never played a part in the whole thing. Big shocker. I know she will never be sorry for all the shit she has done, because it was all on purpose, and she loved every minute of it. I still struggle with self-worth issues, but I've worked very hard for years on becoming the woman I am today. A lot stronger, confident, and truly happy. At most times, sure that I'm not sure that I'm a good person. That's the most difficult narc residue she gifted to me. I still feel like most things are my fault, even when they are clearly not. And I worry when I choose me first in a healthy way. I'm becoming like my mother and a bad person. On paper, I know I'm a good person, work hard, and accept the good things that come with an honest life, which I do. But emotionally, there's a disconnect, and I don't feel like I deserve the good things in life, because you've been raised by baby boomers who have lived their life, okay, that everything they do is the pinnacle. Everything they do is better than you. Everything they've seen is better than you. Everything they think, look at, touch, anything make is better than you. This is what you have been dealing with for 47 years. That you can't do anything without them, that they'll always be better than you, and you're not going to get better until you cut it completely out of your life. I remain anonymous because I recently moved back to my hometown after living in Belgium for 14 years. The reason I moved back was mainly because I felt socially isolated and lonely living in another country, and most of my close friends and family still live in my hometown. I really want to have a normal social life with friends and family. Unfortunately, mother is part of the family circle. Mother's main objective is to keep up the facade that she's an amazing, caring, God-fearing woman, and anything that makes her look bad, like having an estranged daughter, would be unacceptable. I had basically no contact with her for 14 years. It was easy living thousands of miles away. She knows if she does any fuckery, I will not hesitate to go no contact again, and this time tell everyone why. Unless you tell everybody the truth, she's gonna do it again. The baby boomer can't help themselves. The baby boomer can't help themselves. All my close friends already know the crazy stories and support me keeping my distance from her. I never let mom in, and when we talk, it's strictly about weather, shopping, things I know she could never use against me. She knows the bare minimum about my life, and when she asks about how I'm doing with this or that, she accepts my answers of good or fine. I go to family gatherings, and that is about it. She leaves me alone and thinks she's and thinks she looks like a great person. Win-win. I know what and who she is and what she is capable of now. She toes the line. I see right through her during the family gatherings, and there is an unspoken truce of she can have the spotlight and talk about how much she loves this or that in a way that makes others uncomfortable, or the amazing things God is doing in her life. She knows I know her shitty ways and might call her out and embarrass her in front of others, so she keeps her evil away from me when I'm near. I don't know how long this will last, and pretty much know she won't be able to help herself, and I will have to cut her out completely again. But for now, there is peace. So you already know what I told you. She's reeling you in. She is setting you up for something. And it's going to be ugly when it happens. I promise you this. Thanks for sharing my story, Ollie. I hope it helps someone out, just like all of the other letters have helped me. Sincerely, in a better place. Well, we had very, very, very similar upbringings here in a better place. This is not going to change. You are the product of being raised by a baby boomer, by a narcissistic baby boomer, and it never ends. You're going to have another what the fuck moment again. Your first one brought you clarity. Hopefully the second what the fuck moment isn't the result of her next pre-planned attack that she has been working on for however long you've been associating within the circle, because her manipulation won't stop. Her backstabbing, her talking behind your back, her recruiting of flying monkeys will never stop. And like you said, you already know it's going to happen again. So be prepared when it does. So, don't ignore your what the fuck moment from the narcissist. Ever. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your story and contribution. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comments section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you. Without you guys, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance.